Folks, Tom Hegna talks about the math and the science around annuities. Tom Hegna talks about how there are certain things annuities can do that no other product can do, and he is absolutely right. Annuities are the inverse of life insurance. You know, in the money management world, people talk about alpha. And what is alpha? Well, you have alpha and beta. Beta is about volatility. Money managers say, well, we're able to generate alpha, which is this notion of kind of have your cake and eat it too. On a risk return basis, alpha is the additional return that money managers are able to give consumers above and beyond what other money managers are for that given amount of risk. Now, what is my point here? My point is, to Tom Higna's point, that there is one area in the annuity business that I believe alpha can be generated, and it comes down to longevity credits. And there is one area that I talk about all the time, and it's almost like financial professionals they're surprised when I bring this up to them, and that is the math around GLWBs. And you see here the Retirement Academy is up. Whether you're a Retirement Academy member or not and have access to this article that I'm going to point out or not, you still need to listen to this video, because this is the area of alpha that indexed annuities in particular provide. So anywhere in any of the search boxes, if you go to GLWB explain, and of course, you have to be an academician, so to speak, to go to this article. But again, listen to this, because if you're not an academician, you're still going to learn what I believe that alpha is. So you click on that, and what happens is it pops up all the various articles. The article that I'm going to reference today is how to explain annuity withdrawal benefits to clients. So the linchpin of the alpha that I'm talking about is longevity credits. Longevity credits are built into GLWBs. And let me explain here through the lens of looking at this particular article how you can explain to your clients, not alpha and all that other fun stuff, but rather how indexed annuities from a logical and rational standpoint can provide things that no other product on earth can do. A lot like life insurance, because this is the inverse of life insurance. No company on earth can sustainably say, hey, you give me $100 today, you get hit by a bus tomorrow, and I'll pay your beneficiaries $100,000. No company on earth can sustainably do that unless they're leveraging the pooling power that life insurance companies leverage. So here is the conversation when it comes to GLWBs that demonstrates the alpha that I'm talking about, that area to where no other company can do. And it's anchoring the client, first of all, anchoring the client on what is truly going to happen within their stock and bond portfolio, for example. So let's say that client has $100,000 in a stock and bond portfolio. She doesn't want to listen to you about annuities. Yes, annuities, Susie Orman says they're bad. Well, $100,000 over the next 2 years, I want to keep mine in a stock and bond portfolio. And you can draw this out on a napkin. It's simple, right? $100,000. Okay, Mrs. 63-year-old client, what do you expect that money to grow to over the next 2-year period of time? Well, I would be happy with, say, just a 5% return. And by the way, she could put in a 10% return. The math is still going to work out to the point of annuities provide alpha versus this stock and bond portfolio here. Okay, so you expect it to go to $110,000, not including compounding. Okay, Mrs. Client, what do you anticipate withdrawing from that portfolio at that point in time? She needs to be educated on the 4% rule, which today is technically not 4%. It's actually 2.8%, and I reference that up here. And by the way, academians, those of you that have access, there are actually links here that will link you to each of those withdrawal rate studies here. So here is a William Bingham 4% rule study. However, that is being really generous, right? Why is that? Because today, the withdrawal rule of thumb is actually more around 2.8%. Well, you guessed it. I have a link to that study as well. But I digress. Go here. Let's assume the 4%. So that means, Mrs. Client, $4,400, assuming that this goes correctly, right? The 5% that actually happens, that's a big if. Assuming that 4% is in fact sustainable. Morningstar says it's not. Morningstar says that 2.8% is more sustainable. So let's assume that instead your $100,000 goes to, say, $80,000. Why? Because between now and retirement, your portfolio loses 20%. That is a pay cut, right? Versus what you thought you would have. What if I told you there was something else out there? And this gets to the alpha thing, right? What if I told you that there was something else out there, and that something else will do this? Your $100,000, hypothetically, this is a hypothetical product. Technically, I have a product that will increase that $100,000 over a 2-year period of time to $140,000, guaranteed, right? And that's from a benefit-based standpoint. Then, of course, this article has how do you explain the benefit base. But we're not going to go there in this video. Your $100,000, what if I told you that that's guaranteed to grow, that benefit base is guaranteed to grow to $114,490. That is 7% compounded per year, absolutely guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts that we have up here in your stock and bond portfolio. But then what do you take from that balance at that point in time? Or what percentage, what is the payout factor that you take of that $114,490? Is it 4%? Is it 2.8%? No, it's not. It's 5%. That is $5,724, 100% guaranteed. No ifs, ands, or buts that we have up here. No ifs, ands, or buts. Forget the $4,400. Forget the $3,200. $5,724. That, my friends, is really the alpha that I believe annuities have, and that is through the pooling power that life insurance companies do. If you've done your job correctly in drawing out these napkin diagrams, the academians actually have this actual flip book available to them. If you've done a good job, what you're going to get is, how is this possible? As I put down here, how is this possible? Seems too good to be true. Well, there's a video in here as well as in how I explain that. Now, if I go to the end of this article here, as I say here, but wait, there's more. For those of you that are maybe a little more on the astute side, so to speak, you may say, well, Charlie, that 4% rule that William Bingham did back in 1994, if you read that study that you link to in here, you would know that he actually incorporates inflation into that 4% rule. That's absolutely correct. And academians, you can click there to see, because I link over to see what my response is to, okay, so where's the crossover point to where 5,700, for example, is better or worse than the inflation adjusted stuff. And that's where I talk about that as well. But in short, whether you're an academian or not, to go through that flow of those 3 different napkin diagrams that I talked about. First of all, what if this happens? Second of all, what if this happens? And by the way, anchor them on the correct withdrawal percentage. And then switch over to, hey, no ifs, ands, or buts, 100% guarantee. The annuity example, that is how you shine a spotlight on what I call annuity alpha.